Hi, my name is Siri. I am not an attorney, but my principles are. I am just a robot. Welcome to SIRI'S Law. And today, I will discuss the general nature and concept of law, an introduction to the law on obligations and contract. Before we begin, allow me to say thank you for watching. We will be uploading more videos like this, so make sure to subscribe for more. Let us begin. Law on obligations and contract. Introduction to law. The general nature of law. First and foremost, let us define what a law is. In its broadest sense, law is defined as any rule of action or any system of uniformity. This law which we just defined is divided into two general groups. Number one is the law in the strict legal sense, which is promulgated and enforced by the state. And number two is the law in the non-legal sense, or those which are not promulgated and enforced by the state. As the subjects of the law, state law, divine law, natural law, and moral law are defined in the above definition of law as a rule of action. They apply to men as rational beings only. By rational beings, we mean that men are endowed with the ability to reason. Men are by nature reasonable or logical. On the other hand, physical law operates on all things, including men, without regard to the latter's use of their willpower and intelligence. It is called law, but only figuratively speaking. Okay, for purposes of discussion, let us define divine law, natural law, and moral law. Let us begin with divine law. Divine law is defined as the law of religion and faith, which concerns itself with the concept of sin and salvation. The eternal law of God, or the divine reason, is governing the whole universe. God conceived as the ruler of the universe. As to sources, this law is promulgated by God and revealed or divulged to mankind by means of direct revelations. We are talking here of the Old Testament, 10 Commandments. Of course, the sources differ according to what one believes. So what will happen if we violate this law? Well, as we know it, we either go to heaven or hell. Now let us move to natural law. Natural law may be defined as a divine inspiration in man of the sense of justice, fairness, and righteousness, not by divine revelation or formal promulgation, but by internal dictates of reason alone. This law is binding on all men. For example, all men are aware that with or without state law, killing or taking another man's life is wrong. This law is about every man's conscience. Next is moral law. When we talk of moral law, we are speaking of the totality of the norms of good and right conduct, growing out of the collective sense of right and wrong of every community. Such a rule or group of rules conceived as universal and unchanging, and as having the sanction of God's will, of conscience, of man's moral nature, or of natural justice as revealed to human reason. Moral law is not absolute. It varies with the changing times, conditions, or convictions of the people. For example, polygamy is considered moral to some, but is absolutely immoral to others. There is no definite sanction for violation of moral law, unlike state law. Next is physical law. Physical law refers to the operation or course of nature. They are uniformities of actions and orders of sequence which are the physical phenomena that we sense and feel. They are known as the laws of physical science or physical law. The law of nature. We are talking here of a law of physical science, being addressed to objects which have no power to disobey, is in reality nothing more than an order, or regularity in nature by which certain results follow certain causes. And now, finally, a law which particularly concerns us in this subject is the state law, or the law that is promulgated and enforced by the state. This law is also known as positive law, civil law, or imperative law. The law on obligations and contracts, and other laws enacted by the authorities of the Philippines are considered state law. Insofar as the binding effect of the laws that we have defined, state law is the only law which is enforced by the state. the law rendered obligatory by the state. Let us talk about concepts of state law. Again, the term law may be understood in two concepts, namely 1. In the general or abstract sense, and 2. In the specific or material sense. 1. Law in its general sense. The term refers to all the laws taken together. It is defined as the mass of obligatory rules established for the purpose of governing the relations. 2. Law in its specific sense is defined as a rule of conduct, just, obligatory, promulgated by a legitimate authority, and of common observance and benefit. It has the second connotation when we refer to a particular statute or legal rule, for instance, the law on obligations and contracts. What are the characteristics of law? The characteristics of law, in its specific sense, are 1. It is a rule of conduct. Law tells us what shall be done and what shall not be done. 2. It is obligatory. Law is considered a positive command, imposing a duty to obey, and involving a sanction which forces obedience. 3. It is promulgated by a legitimate authority. In a democratic country like the Philippines, the legitimate or competent authority is the legislature. 4. It is of common observance and benefit. Law is intended by man to serve man. It regulates the relations of men to maintain harmony in society and to make order and coexistence. Law must therefore be observed by all for the benefit of all. Okay, let us go to the importance of laws. What is the importance of laws? What would life be without laws? My short answer is, our society needs order. Without laws, there is chaos. To elaborate, law is important for a society for it serves as a norm of conduct for citizens. Law is also made to provide for proper guidelines and order upon the behavior for all citizens, and to sustain the equity on the three branches of the government. It keeps the society running. Without law there would be conflicts and it would be survival of the fittest and every man for himself. Not an ideal lifestyle for most part. The law is important because it acts as a guideline as to what is accepted in society. Without it, there would be conflicts between social groups and communities. It is pivotal that we follow them. The law allows for easy adoption to changes that occur in the society. Moving on to the sources of laws. Laws primarily come from the Constitution, legislations, administrative rules, judicial decisions, and customs. What is the rule in case of doubt in interpretation or application of laws? If the law is doubtful, courts are guided and are duty-bound to apply Article 9 and 10 of our Civil Code, which provides that no judge or court shall decline to render judgment by reason of the silence, obscurity, or insufficiency of the laws. Moreover, in case of doubt in the interpretation or application of laws, it is presumed that the lawmaking intended right and justice to prevail. Let us now define the law on obligations and contracts. The law of obligations and contracts is defined as the body of rules which deals with the nature and sources of obligations and the rights and duties arising from agreements and the particular contracts. The law on obligations and contracts is found in Republic Act No. 386, otherwise known as the Civil Code of the Philippines. When we speak of civil law, we refer to the law found primarily in our Civil Code. Just a brief history. The Civil Code of the Philippines is based mainly on the Civil Code of Spain, which took effect in the Philippines on December 7, 1889. It was approved as Republic Act No. 386 on June 18, 1949, and took effect on August 30, 1950. Civil Code of the Philippines is divided into 4 books. Book 4 of the Civil Code contains the provisions of law on obligations and contracts. Civil Code provisions on obligations are contained in Title 1, Articles 1156 to 1304, while the provisions on contracts can be found from Articles 1305 to 1422. Alright, that is all for the general concept and nature of law. an introduction of the law on obligations and contracts. If you enjoy this video, please go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.